and we'll talk about Tuesday. We'll hand out in the PowerPoint. I also want to figure out who in this class sectional is on the panel. So in the first section we have Lizzie Ben-Susan and Henry Arnold. Who from this section will be testifying at the hearing?
I will be Alex Lyon, Lyon.
Okay, and
Madison Miller. That's me.
Madison?
Yep.
Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R?
Yep.
Okay. It's important. My job, I'll talk about the mechanics of the hearing. So what the committee will get before you guys show up Tuesday afternoon will be the following. They'll get the handout, the PowerPoint. They'll get the list of people that are on the panel. I send them that. And then when you show up, the committee staff will have your PowerPoint up, and the plan is for you guys to use the PowerPoint as your presentation. And then we'll talk about how to involve the rest of the class with supplementary documents. So let's, from the top, House Bill 55, sorry, correction, Senate Bill 5571 will be heard Tuesday, February 14th at 1:30 in the afternoon. It'll be before the Senate Early Learning and K-12 Education Committee. So they basically do babies to senior year in high school. House Bill 1781, the companion, will not be heard this session. There's no time on the agenda. But mechanically and budget-wise, it's next to impossible for you guys to make 2 trips down here. Since they're hearing your bill, this is the hearing we care about.
Okay.
Now, I've seen the handout. I think it's good. A few more tweaks on your end, and you can send it out. I like the PowerPoint.
Awesome.
I would like to, basically, with the balance of our time, talk about how the hearing works, what you guys will do, and then also we'll take questions on anything you need to know as we get ready for our hearing. Okay, so this is how it works. So you guys will get on a big long bus. No, just you'll all get down here. You're supposed to be here between 12:30 and 1. The hearing's at 1:30. We have electronic sign-in for the committee kiosks. And if you have smartphones with internet access, I can show you how to sign in for the bill, and you can use your smartphones or computer stations so you all don't have to stand in line. And we'll do that. We'll do that as your briefing when you arrive. So what happens is that everyone signs in electronically to the committee. 4 of you will be signing in testifying as a panel. The 4 of you and I will sit down and do that together. The rest of you can sign in not testifying, and all of you will get to sign in on the bill. In the previous class panel, we'll talk about this here. One thing I really, as a teacher also, that panel presentations is that 4 speak, 26 don't. You know what I mean? Or in this case, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or 12 more people in here? Mr. Dawson, you have
so there's a lot of people you can't see because of the camera, but
because they're invisible. All right.
There are about 26 others in here.
Yeah. Okay. So all of you should actually figure out how to write a paragraph or a couple sentences about why you support the bill, and get them to Mr. Dawson, and he can create kind of a comment support document with all the students' comments. We can electronically send it to the committee. It basically works as written testimony.
Okay.
Okay, about both you, Alex and Madison. So you will have about 2 minutes if you gave a statement to the committee. If you do the PowerPoint, the 4 of you should figure out in what sequence you take panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, panel 4, and then a closing statement. With a 4-person panel, the first person introduces the concept. The second person will speak about the Lake Washington Environmental Club program. The third person will talk about, cost challenges and ways that you can make the system work around the state. And the 4th person bats cleanup and summarizes everybody else.
Okay.
Technically, I don't know if either of you do speech or debate or DECA or any of the other activities where kids do public speaking as a big part of their activities. But there are 2 ways. Some people are naturally, they can talk off without notes. They're, you can talk about anything without notes. Other people are very kind of tense about that and want to write everything down. So there's nothing wrong with being somebody who has to write everything down. In fact, even if you're verbally comfortable speaking, you should go ahead and write your talking points down, whether it's a full text of what you want to say is, hi, my name is Madison Miller, and I'm here to talk about Senate Bill 5571, comma, a proposal. If you want to script it out, script it out. If you were, hi, I'm Madison, and this is my friend Alex, and we're here to talk about, and you have bullet points. One of you talks about the program at Lake Washington. The other one talks about how composting can save money. Whether it's bullet points, a speech outline, or words, every single word written down, all work. My only advice to you as a speech teacher at the college level is the following: practice, practice, practice. Get yourself down to 2 minutes. They'll if they want more information, they'll ask. So, and to be honest, it is not a hostile environment. The senators and staff want you to succeed. But if you don't answer questions, or if you don't have information that's readily available, they will ask you for it, and hopefully you will have it. You do have the right to always say, we'll get back to you. And by we'll get back to you means that I will get back to the committee with a piece of information, and I'll be taking notes. Alrighty, so that's how it's going to go. You're going to come in, the rest of you are going to sign in on the bill. The 4 of you are going to get up. You're going to have maybe a total of 20 minutes before the committee. It's up to the committee to decide how much number of questions. You'll have a PowerPoint presentation. You'll go through the PowerPoint. You'll each have a set of comments to make about why you want to do this, and then you'll be open to questions from the senators, and it'll be surprisingly positive. Now, there is a possibility this bill would face amendments, and those will be around whether or not it should be an opt-in proposal, as in school districts get to decide if they want to do this, and then also the question of how much money it would cost to do that. That's kind of what's happening at the committee level. So now I'm going to turn the balance of my time over for questions from the class so we can get ready for Tuesday.
Do you guys have specific questions that we need to prepare?
Well, you kind of outlined the four like PowerPoint slides, or like the talking points for each person. Do we want to talk? You didn't really say cost benefits for the state and whatnot. We were spending a lot of time trying to figure that out. Is that still, that's something worth talking about, right?
It is something. The biggest question before the committee is, will this save schools money?
All right.
There's a gentleman I know in Olympia who says, yeah, it does save money. Like you, I've gone on and Googled a bunch of these different things. I've gone to the school district websites in Seattle, and then I sent you guys the same links via email. Mm-hmm. And it all sounds great, but there isn't really a hard cost number that we can say, if you compost your school food, you'll save $20,000 a year. We don't have that evidence. What we do know, though, is that if a school reduces its waste stream, it will save money.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that composting helps. Composting helps the local economy because it provides a source of plant nutrient to gardeners, farmers, and everyone else. Cedar Grove in King County is an example of that. Mm-hmm. So that is the question. I think what the bill speaks to is also a larger environmental question, which is like, what are the things that we can do that will help reduce the amount of stuff we're putting in landfills?
Yeah.
And that to me is the no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
Should they focus on other schools, not even just in the state, but maybe nationwide, that have implemented something like this?
Yeah, we have the example out of upstate New York that you can look at that we sent the links to. Yeah, go ahead and add those. If you find them, select a paragraph, literally cut and paste, drop it in your presentation, say here's a hypothetical. The White Plains, New York School District instituted composting at its high schools, and evidence seems to indicate that 1,200 tons of garbage and X number of dollars is being saved. If we can find those anecdotal examples, we should give them to the committee. Keep in mind, also, I need you to remember, when you do that, keep some level of academic rigor, i.e. cite the source, and if it's an internet source, attach the URL so that anybody could go look up your fact and find it. We are not in the business of alternate facts in this classroom.
Okay. I have a question. So our friend Henry, he put together kind of like his estimate of how much it would save the state money, but we also, he realizes that there's no way to know for sure, just because composting costs a different amount in every county, and it's just way too much. Would it be good to still include our estimate, or should we just show that it will save money and then leave it up to like the Senate to really do the research and find out how much it'll cost?
Depending on if you have a methodology to the estimate, I would include it.
Okay.
I mean, especially if the committee comes back with an indeterminate fiscal note. Indeterminate means, heck, if we know. So you should, and if Henry has done his homework and has evidence and sites of where he pulled his data, he should include those. If nothing else, it gives the committee something to chew on.
Okay. Sounds good.
Should we go about explaining every aspect of our bill? Because there's the opportunity, we mentioned the opportunity for on-site composting. And I'm wondering if we should spend much or any of our time kind of talking about what that means, or if we just kind of talk about the benefits and whatnot.
I think you should explain the difference between on-site composting and having it contracted out.
Okay.
Are you guys doing on-site composting at Lake Washington?
No, we have it picked up by the like waste management.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would make, on-site composting has certain regulatory challenges from the Department of Health,
Okay.
because you are dealing with a giant pile of bacteria.
Yeah.
No, I'm, seriously, you don't want to fish out of a compost pile a half-eaten banana saying, I forgot that. It's not cool.
Yeah.
And your body will tell you in a matter of minutes why that was a bad idea. But you should take a moment to explain, if you can. We can do on-site composting.
Okay.
And if you don't think that's a good idea because of the rulemaking required, you should say that. But then again, there are probably some environmental clubs around the state that would love to do on-site composting. There are also probably, if you go to agricultural high schools out where there's farming, you then have a product, you compost, you have a product that you could sell. The club could use it. I mean, I've thought about this in the days and weeks we've been talking about this, is what would happen if environmental club created an on-site composting pile and then sold the compost to pay for the expenses of the club?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you guys love selling band candy. I mean, there's always other ways to make money for your school.
Yeah. That's what we were thinking. It's like a good way to do like fundraisers and such.
Okay.
If a school would be willing to find people.
Yeah, if the district's willing to allow the class and help with the administration of that would be a great program. And it's only one example of how this could work. It's not the only.
Yeah.
Okay.
About the on-site composting with the needing to turn it. I feel like I'm kind of confused in how we're kind of putting this, into a bill, but it would be still up to clubs. Do bills have any jurisdiction over clubs? Because not every high school has like an environmental club or something like that. So
the jurisdiction isn't on the activities of the club. The jurisdiction is on the health and safety of everyone around a composting plant. Cedar Grove down in South King County is a really big composting plant, and you can smell it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I think when you talk about on-site composting, I think for most schools it would be like having a beehive at the high school. It's just like it'll be an experiment, and it'll be designed not to interfere with the operations of the school.
No.
All right.
Any other questions?
I mean, I have questions about logistical stuff, about like what to wear and stuff. But
Business attire. You're going for a job interview.
Okay.
So suit and tie if you have one. If not, dress as conservative. Dress in such a way that your parents will check your temperature when you're leaving the door. It's like, are you all right? Wearing a tie.
And that goes for everybody in the class, or especially?
Yeah, I would like to see everybody kind of dressed up nice, so that you're all dressed comfortable, but nice. So and that doesn't mean no jeans. It just means conservative top, pant. If you got leather jackets or FFA or other regalia, as the tribes call them, wear them. But for the panelists, I would like you in business attire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Brown? What we have him here?
I don't think so. No.
You good? All right. I think we have our.
I'm wearing my Lake Washington purple cocktail dress, so we'll be squared away.
Excellent.
Got it on today, brothers.
There you go.
All right. So I think we have our orders of what we're going to be doing this weekend, and I will send on Monday the information, the electronic stuff, the PowerPoints, the note sheets, the testimonials.
Awesome.
And we will get down and we will see you on Tuesday.
Alrighty, guys. You have a couple minutes left. Any other questions on or off topic about stuff in the news?
Is there anything you guys would like to ask about from the class? If you wouldn't mind this, because I thought the question from last period, they were like about the Trump travel ban and the state of Washington's role within that travel ban.
Okay. Well, this is kind of a lesson in how federal courts work. So as you all know in the news, the Trump administration, as one of its first actions, issued a travel ban from 7 countries to ban immediate travel to and from the United States from those countries. A lawsuit was initiated. Actually, several court actions were initiated, not just Seattle, Washington, but also New York City, Los Angeles, Philadelphia. What happened is that Washington got to court first, and the Attorney General, Bob Ferguson, filed a lawsuit. The constitutional question at stake here is the following. The Constitution of the United States applies to everybody in the United States, regardless of nationality, regardless of immigration status. Citizens and non-citizens have the same constitutional protections. That has been a principle of this country since 1790. I mean, it's never gone away. We have, as you know through history, have done things that are highly questionable to the civil rights of others. In World War I, we summarily deported thousands of Germans and Italians during the First World War. And World War II, we relocated some 210,000 Japanese Americans and Japanese foreign nationals to internment camps. And of course, we have had selective bans on Asians in the early 1990s, on the Irish in the 1850s. So you have to take the human behavior part of our country, the racism and other stuff, and set it aside for a minute. Just talk about the law. The law says if you have a green card, you have a passport. You are permitted to be in this country. And the Trump administration said green cards. And there's a political discussion that happened. They said, well, we can fix that. We didn't mean that. We can interpret it differently. And the court, in its rejection appellate decision that came out Tuesday, was the following. It is not the court's job to rewrite your executive order. The question before the court is the constitutionality of what you wrote. And the answer is we don't find it constitutional. So that's why this issue is going up before the Supreme Court. It's the constitutionality. And keep in mind, it's not just Washington, 15 other states plus the District of Columbia and 100 high-tech companies, Boeing, Microsoft, Google, M3 Games. All of these people have lots of needs for technical students that come from other nations, whether it's Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Indonesia, Australia, Brazil. The fact is all of these people are coming in this country to work in industries where there are gaps in employment. And yes, you can complain about the lack of American high-tech workers, but to be very honest, that you got to go back to moms and dads and say, why didn't you help your kid in science class? Because that's why they're an art history major. You know, that's the tough thing about higher ed. You can major in anything, but you should remember that you have to figure out what you're going to do when you leave. I mean, if you're an art history major, you should move to Britain because they at least employ them. They have castles and stuff. They're always looking for people like to dust pieces of artwork off. You know, if you're an art history major, Britain. If not Britain, Boston and DC, because that's where the jobs are. But if you want to be a technology major, then you have to get those skills and you have to move fast. Think about you guys. How many of you have Facebook or other social media pages? You know, I have a business one and a personal one. Well, and websites, you know, now websites, if you have like my website is from Yahoo Plug and Play. So I just built it, you know, I picked and then I plug pictures in. I mean, who would, you know, when I was in college 35 years ago, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, there were, you know, high tech specialists were gurus. You know, they wore robes, they marched in line because people were scared of the technology. Well, we're not scared of the technology anymore. And because we're not scared of the technology, we have global influence on how we do things. And that's why the ban may be a good idea for national security. And that's Trump's main argument is national security. But the execution, the bottom question I would have, and what I'll exit with is the following. If this was so mission critical to the national security of the United States, why didn't you just run a bill? Congress would pass it. Congress, he shares the Republican Party. It's one of the great mysteries that we'll have over the next 4 years is why didn't he do things with Congress instead of against Congress? And I think that's really going to be an interesting question for the next 4 years is how does he act in a government instead of as an individual? That's all I got. You know, guys, have a great weekend. I will see you Tuesday morning or afternoon. It is Valentine's Day. So do whatever nice things you have to do either before or after your hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Take
Tuesday.
care, guys.